slowest curtain going up I've ever seen.
And some smoke just to make it more
wow, this is
atmospheric. Welcome to Belgium.
Thank you, it's lovely to be here. My first time in Ghent, and it's a beautiful city.
But it's not your first time in Belgium?
No, I've been to Brussels, that's it.
Okay, so you upgraded to Ghent, which is good.
Yeah.
Now, in the UK, there's a famous drinking game, which is name 3 famous Belgians. Can you name 3 famous Belgians?
Yes.
Can you be a little more specific?
No.
Any soccer fan?
I'm not a soccer fan, no.
Okay. Jean-Claude Van Damme?
Of course, the muscles from Brussels.
Yeah. Audrey Hepburn?
I didn't know she was...
Yeah, she was born in Brussels.
Wow. And Poirot?
Yes. Yeah. Hercule Poirot, indeed. Magritte, and quite a few others.
Tintin?
Yes.
Yeah.
You see, you can.
I know.
Now, you're from, and I hope I pronounce it correctly, Brockworth?
Brockworth in Gloucester, yes.
Okay. Apart from you, are there 3 famous people from Brockworth?
Not from Brockworth, but from Gloucester. There's myself, and there's the young man. Did anybody see Alien Earth? The show. The kid who plays the crazy kind of guy, the prodigy guy, he's from Gloucester, he's from Cheltenham, and Fred West, who is a serial killer. So it's the 3 of us, basically.
You're in good company.
Yes.
Now, obviously you're an actor. What's the one perk of being an actor that us common mortals cannot imagine having?
I get free snowboards. That's the big. I joined Instagram because my friend Pom Clementieff, who I was working with on Mission Impossible, she was on Instagram, and she had. It seemed to me she was getting sent loads of really cool things like free clothes and sneakers, and so I thought I'll do that, and I can get free shit. And so I did, and I get free dog toys and snowboards. So it was worth it.
Oddly specific, but hey.
Yeah.
As an actor, which do you consider the most difficult emotion to express? You know, laughing, crying, being angry, sad?
Well, I don't know, because I mean, emotion is a spectrum. You know, it's all part of the same process. So sometimes it's hard to get really sad if you're not feeling very sad, but that's what acting is, you know, it's about simulating. And I personally find dramatic acting more challenging than comedy acting, because when you're doing comedy, you could rely on sort of, I don't know, like a little bag of tricks that you have, but dramatic acting is harder, and I actually love doing dramatic acting, so yeah.
Can you cry on cue?
Yeah. I'm not going to do it now. I'm too happy to see everybody.
The only right answer. Now, being on set can be tiring and exhausting. Do you have any go-to ritual to wind down after a long day on set?
Well, it depends, because like if I'm shooting Mission Impossible, say, we shoot that mostly in London. So I just go home and I, you know, have a little chill out with my kid and dogs, and then go to bed and get up and do it again in the morning. If I'm away on location, that's more, you know, we'll go out for dinner and we'll hang out and do stuff. You know, it depends where we are in the world. But I don't have a specific ritual that I go through, no.
Not like the glass of wine you take after?
No, I don't drink.
Okay.
I'm 15 years sober.
All right. Now, you've been acting for 25, 30 years, approximately.
Yeah.
What would be the one thing that changed most in the acting profession over those 3 decades?
Well, nothing has changed in acting, but I think the film industry has changed enormously, and I think just mainly because of the sheer choice of ways we have to watch cinema now has impacted on the theatrical experience a little bit. So, you know, theatrical cinema is sort of slightly under threat because people are watching their movies at home. You know, I think that's a real shame, because going to the movies to see a movie is the best way to see a movie. You know, when you watch it with a group of people that you don't necessarily know, and you share that experience, it's such a beautiful thing. And I do worry that you know, things are moving away from that. Also, the sort of reliance on IP, on existing IP. You know, sequels, prequels. I'm part of a lot of sequels, so I'm not decrying it, but it would be nice to see a little bit, a few more original stories being told. You know?
So you're saying no Hot Fuzz 2?
There will never be a Hot Fuzz 2. Or a Shaun of the Dead 2, or a World's End 2, I don't know.
But any Forge movie in the series?
Edgar and I will make another film together, yeah, absolutely. I think he's just finishing off The Running Man right now, and when that comes out next year, when we're both, maybe we've got a few weeks, we can sit down and write something new. Yeah.
The remake of the Arnold Schwarzenegger movie from the 90s, Running Man.
It's not a remake of that movie, no, because that movie took Stephen King's novel and just sort of based it very loosely on that book. Edgar's film is much more an adaptation of the book, not a remake of the film.
Now, you've worked with many of the greats. You're one of the greats, but you worked with many of the greats of the cinema. Was there an experience or a moment where you yourself were starstruck and you go like, this is...
Yeah, working with Steven Spielberg was like that, you know, because he made so many of the films that I grew up loving, and he shaped my love of cinema in many ways. And so to get to be directed by him twice, and also get him to come and do a little cameo in Paul as well, I'm always a little bit giddy when I'm around him, you know, because I just want to ask him loads of questions and hug him, basically. He's an amazing man.
Do you have future directing plans?
For me, yes, I'm developing a film to direct right now. Yeah, I really hope I can make it next year. It's based on a book which I love, and it's a sort of folk horror. So that's what I'll say.
And would you be only directing, or would you also be acting in it?
No, only directing. I think it would be such a difficult process to direct and act, because you have to keep coming back behind the camera. And I asked a friend of mine who is an actor-director why that's a good idea, and he said it's just one less actor to deal with, which I thought was a pretty good answer.
Yeah, but it must be weird for the other actors, because one of your colleague actors is also the director, so you don't have the same...
Yeah, I had that a little bit on Star Trek Beyond, because as the co-writer, I was like part of the crew and part of the cast. But it just meant that I was able to interface with my castmates and sort of make sure they were happy with the dialogue and all that stuff. So that actually worked quite well.
All right. Now, not only are you an actor, you're obviously also famous. What's your relationship to fame? You love it, you hate it, you go like, I don't care?
It's fine, you know? I mean, there's no point complaining about it. It's sort of... it's just part of the job if you end up doing this job in this kind of, you know, in the level that I'm doing it in, I guess. So, and you have to be grateful that people, you know, take the time to come and say hello or come to these conventions, you know. It's, you have to be grateful, and if it feels a little bit too much, I live way out in the countryside now, like I live where there are no people. So that's where I go when I want to get away from it. But yeah, it's okay. Get free snowboards.
Now, on the Graham Norton show, there once was Ian McGregor, and Graham Norton showed in his own action figure. You got action figures made out of your characters as well.
Yeah.
How does it feel to be playing with yourself?
Nothing I don't usually do, to be fair. It's incredible. I grew up buying action figures, you know. I still have a case full of about 70 Star Wars figures, and to now have little action figures of me is crazy. I try and get them all if I can. And I have a room at home where they're kind of on a shelf. And my daughter Tilly calls it the shrine, because it's just all, and there's a lot of Nick as well. So it's just all, and that's everything from you know, Shaun of the Dead to Buck the Weasel, and even Dupont from Tintin. You know, I've got them all lined up, and I pray to it every night.
Another famous Belgian, versie, created.
Exactly, yeah.
If you could host a dream dinner, and you can invite 3 people, dead or alive,
yes,
from all of humanity, who would you invite?
Oh, well, I'd probably invite the Beatles, but maybe it's difficult because I'm only allowed 3, so I'm only allowed 3 Beatles. I would definitely invite John Lennon. I would love to speak to George Harrison. You know, they're 2 Beatles that we've lost. And then, you know, I'd get Paul in, obviously, and then sneak Ringo in. I'm a huge Beatles fan, so I would love to just, you know, hear their story from their mouths.
You never met Paul McCartney?
I haven't. I'm friends with Paul.
Wow. If you could swap lives for 1 week with another celebrity, whose life would you like to live for 1 week?
Oh my God, I don't know. I mean, I'm kind of very happy being me. You know, I don't think I would want to be anyone else, really. I guess it would be interesting just for a week to see what it feels like to be Tom Cruise, because he lives such an extraordinary life. You know, he's dedicated his entire life to filmmaking, and he kind of lives in this sort of this world of being a movie star, you know. And I know that he doesn't know what it's like to be a normal person, particularly, you know, because he's been like that since he was 16. And a lot of my relationship with him is about reminding him of that, you know, because I think I'm a normal person. I try and live as normal a life as I possibly can. I don't try and live in the bubble of fame. I don't really go out that much. I don't go to parties. I do what I need to do as an actor to promote my films, but otherwise, you know. And I also like to take time off to be with my family, you know. Tom goes literally job to job to job, and it's fun to remind him sometimes that he's not normal.
Yeah, everything you read about him is he has an incredible work ethic, and that's what I read is he knows every name of everybody on set.
Yeah, he's extraordinary like that. He just makes it his business, and it is his business. He is his own business, you know. He's kind of he's a one-off, really. There isn't another actor like him working today, I don't think, you know.
The question I always wondered, or I always ask myself is, I mean, obviously he's made a fortune. Why do you keep on doing this work? I mean, he could retire or live on the beach.
He doesn't do it for the money.
Okay.
He does it because he loves movies. I mean, I'm sure he would do it for free. He'd have a hard time getting around the planet, but he would, you know, it's what he loves. And yeah, he's a businessman as well, but I can honestly say he's not in this for all that. He's in it because he loves movies.
You're approximately 50?
42.
Yeah. If you could talk to your 15-year-old self, what would you tell yourself?
Well, I'm kind of exactly where I want to be right now, you know, so I would say don't change a thing, you know, just do. I maybe say don't waste 3 years after you graduate from university working in a department store. I'd maybe say get to it quicker, but then maybe if I did that, I wouldn't be sat here now. So I would just say, you know, everything will be okay, because you're going to go through some dark times, but you'll get through it, you know, and you'll be all right. So just stick at it, kid.
Which is amazing, because most people answer that question with like, I would tell him or her to be patient or to be confident. It's great that you say, no, I wouldn't change a thing, because
yeah,
you wouldn't be who you are.
Exactly, yeah. You know.
And final question from me before we start taking questions from the crowd. If you were to interview yourself, what question would you ask yourself?
Well, I wouldn't say what's Tom Cruise like, because I get that all the fucking time. I'd say, Simon, tell us all about snowboarding. Because I would talk to Ash for hours about that.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's your time to shine. There's 2 microphones, one on the left, one on the right. Just gonna lay out a few ground rules. It's 1 question per person, English only. Please articulate in the microphone. Don't ask for free hugs, free pictures, free autographs, nor for Simon's room number. I got that. But especially,
I'm leaving tonight.
I've got snowboards in my room. But especially, don't be shy. Take it away. Go ahead.
Hello, Mr. Pegg. I'm really a fan of your role in The Voice. And my question is there any comic book that you're really a fan of that deserves a big screen adaptation?
Well, I was a big fan of 2000 AD when I was growing up. That was my comic book. It's a British science fiction comic, obviously responsible for Judge Dredd, and I don't know, there were lots of stories in that. There was a great comic book in the 90s called Crisis, which I think would be very sort of befitting for today's sort of, you know, world. But it was a bit underground. But yeah, I think if there was gonna, I don't think I'd adapt one. I don't think I'd do a superhero one. I feel like superheroes, we've had enough, or you know, we've got enough. Let's say it would probably be something a little bit more, I don't know, socially conscious maybe. Thank you.
Hi, Simon.
Hi.
Hi. My name is Kim. I'd love to know, what's your favorite tattoo? Do you have a story behind it?
I think it's probably, let me get a shot of this one. See this one here, this little Woody Woodpecker? That's from Raising Arizona, which is one of my favorite films of all time. And Nicolas Cage, his character, has it, and so does his kind of nemesis. And Raising Arizona was the film that Edgar Wright and myself kind of bonded over. And it was the first film that I watched when I realized that to make a film comedy, you don't just have to write a funny script. You can direct it in a funny way. You can act it in a funny way. Every part of the filmmaking process can be part of that comedy, and that's something that Edgar and I took forward, you know, into our filmmaking. And you know, when costume like the one you're wearing can have a sort of effect, you know. So yeah, I guess that one.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hi.
So, out of all the Mission Impossible movies that you've acted in, which one do you look back to as one of the most fun to act in, and just look back at as one of the most amazing times of your life?
I think, well, they've all got that about them, you know. Like my very first one was overwhelming. Ghost Protocol was my first time I'd ever made a big film on a global scale, you know. I think Rogue Nation, because it was kind of a bit of a buddy movie between Ethan and Benji, and you know, I was in the big car chase in Morocco, and that was incredibly fun. I met Rebecca for the first time, and you know, she's one of my most loved friends, and it was just a real hoot. You know, we shot it in we went to Morocco. Where else did we go? Oh, Vienna. And it was just a real adventure, you know. But then I look back on like the last one where we went to the Arctic and we shot, you know, literally having to avoid being eaten by polar bears. That was a lot of fun as well. So I think for me, every single one has its charm. But Rogue Nation was a special one, I think. Thank you.
I don't know if you watch movies regularly on your own, but is there one from this year that has moved you, like you will remember it from years and years and years?
All I do is watch movies. That's my love and my hobby. And I watch a lot of films with my daughter because I've raised her to be a film fan. This year I've seen quite a few really good movies that I think I'll go back and watch again. Weapons, I thought was fantastic. One Battle After Another was fantastic. The Long Walk was great. Bring Her Back was great. Together was great. I think the best thing you can hope for as a filmmaker is that your films stand the test of time. And I think all of those people will go back to and re-watch, you know, because they were just made with love and care, and they're all original ideas as well. So, yeah, those 5. Thank you. Thank you. Hi.
Just a puzzle piece.
Yes.
But that's not the question. I went to the last Mission Impossible on my birthday in the cinema because it deserved it. And what struck to me was the AI and how it is now.
Yeah.
Because then possibly it was not that horrible. And suddenly I was in the movie, I was like, oh my god, this is like the looked into the future and saw all the very, very evil things that AI could do.
Yeah.
What is your take on that?
Well, when McHugh described the entity to me back in 2019, it felt like, oh, this is a cool idea because it's like, it feels a little bit science fiction. You know, Mission Impossible has always had an edge of science fiction to it because it's all the technology and the masks and things. You know, it's science and it's fiction. But very quickly as we were making it, AI came more and more to the fore in the sort of social discourse, and it felt more and more sort of relevant, you know. So by the time the film came out, we were seeing some of the kind of things that the entity was doing, like, you know, manipulating. Yeah, right? I mean, it's a cautionary tale. So, I mean, AI, for me, it could be an incredible tool in medicine, in travel, in science. It's never going to replace actors because AI has no trauma. AI has no kind of childhood experience. It has no emotion. It's never had its heart broken. It can only aggregate what's already out there. It can't have an original thought. Until you want to see a film about what it's like to be in AI, AI should keep the fuck out of film writing, and, you know. But it's going to replace CG. That's going to happen. But then CG is a technology as well, you know. So we have to approach it with caution, but not with complete rejection, you know. It's going to become part of our landscape, and we just have to make sure it doesn't go crazy and kill us all. Thank you.
Hi.
Hi.
I was wondering, where is your heart more when you're acting in like movies like the Cornetto movies or the Mission Impossible movies?
It's on the left, generally. Well, my heart is probably would be more in the Cornetto films because I write those with Edgar, and they're very personal, and you know, they mean a lot to us. But that's not to say I don't enjoy everything else I do. I try and put my heart and soul into everything I do. But for me, the Cornetto films are very special. So yeah, if it's anywhere, it's there. Thank you.
Hi Simon.
Hi.
I've come all the way from Essex.
Wow.
My question is about Spaced.
Yeah.
Would you ever do a reunion episode in a couple of years' time?
Well, Space, for those of you that don't know, Here was a sitcom that I made with Jessica Hines, and Edgar Wright directed it. It was our first, well actually it was our third collaboration, but it was our first major collaboration. I think it would be difficult to do Spaced again now because I don't think Edgar's ever going to go back to directing television, and it wouldn't be Spaced if it wasn't with Edgar. Also, when we made Spaced, we kind of were those people, you know. We were living in shared flats, and we were just hanging out and smoking weed, and like, now, my life isn't like that anymore. I don't know if I could truthfully write what it's like to be Tim grown up, because I don't know where he went, unless he turned into a clueless actor who doesn't know how to tie his own shoelaces. That I could write, but yeah, so I think Spaced, I'm very sad that we never made a third series. That's just the way things turned out. It was just, Edgar and I did Shaun of the Dead, and things went in a different direction, you know. But it's still very special to me, and I...
It's special to me. I'm rewatching it now.
Oh, cool. Well, yeah, it's you know, it's such an important part of mine and Edgar and Nick's and Jess's sort of growth as actors. So I'll always love it.
Me too.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Safe travels back to Essex.
Hello.
Hi.
I was wondering, after all those years of doing Mission Impossible, what was it like to finally wrap up that whole journey and the legacy, actually?
Yeah, it was weird because it had been 20 years for me. I shot my very first scene in Mission Impossible 3, like, I think like around about now, 20 years ago. And so it had become such a big part of my life, and Benji had become a character that I had grown up with, literally, you know. So it was emotional. I'm not entirely sure that was the last one, if I'm honest.
I hope so too.
I mean, you know, it was the final reckoning in terms of the fact that it was the wrapping up of the storyline that began with the first film. But who's to say that another story couldn't emerge? I can't imagine Tom giving that up. He loves it too much. It's his only chance to jump off a cliff on a motorbike. Do you know what I mean? You're not going to give that up quickly.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hi.
Thank you again for Hot Fuzz.
You are?
There's two movies that are referenced in the film a lot, Point Break and Bad Boys 2, both of which at the time were younger than Hot Fuzz is now. So, which is, I guess, makes us all feel old.
Yes.
But my question is, if you were to do something like Hot Fuzz again, which films from the past 20 years would you put up on a pedestal like those two?
Oh my God, I don't know, because they're very specific kinds of films. You know, obviously Bad Boys 2 is Michael Bay, and so it has that ridiculous kind of drama to it. Point Break is a much better film than I think people realize. It was directed by Catherine Bigelow. It has something very different to it about its take on the action genre, on the gizmo. But in terms of action films of the last sort of 20 years, The Raid, you know, probably. And they just don't make them like they used to, you know? Like those kind of like high concept 80s, 90s action films, they don't exist anymore, you know? I mean, for the last, what is it, like 17, 16 years, it's all been superheroes. You know, since Iron Man, the action films have kind of just been that. There haven't been many, you know, Earth-based action films. So I don't know. But yeah, The Raid. We'd do The Raid. Thank you.
Or maybe John Wick.
Oh, John Wick, yeah.
Hi, Simon.
Hi.
In Mission Impossible Final Reckoning, I love that you play Benji as this much more dramatic character that has his own emotional and fear and sadness moments. There's actually a very beautiful deleted scenes that have Benji with this, which I think was beautifully acted for, specifically for that dramatic moments. My question is there anything you can, without spoiling too much, anything you can tell us about those kinds of scenes, or maybe like how Benji received the knife from Ethan, because I think it's pretty iconic and symbolic as well for the character to get that from him.
Yeah, that's something that really blew my mind. When I went to see Mission Impossible 1 in 1996 at the cinema, like, you know, like just a moviegoer, I had no idea that when that knife fell from the ceiling, that one day it would be used to aspirate my lung, you know, which was kind of mind-blowing to me. We did shoot a scene, a quick moment, which we never used, where when Ethan runs away, he leaves the knife and Benji picks it up and takes it with him into the server room. But we didn't think we needed it, we just kind of thought that it was there. Have you seen the scene when Ethan tells, have you seen it?
The deleted scene?
Yeah.
It's in the extras.
Oh, I haven't got that yet.
Oh, no.
Yeah, when they're talking about Luther.
there is no dialogue. It's a McHugh commentary and then.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we did a scene when Ethan is telling Benji that Luther is dead. Spoiler alert, sorry if you haven't seen Mission Impossible Final Reckoning. And we put our heads together. And it was like, let's do the thing from Rain Man. Because him and Dustin Hoffman did that in Rain Man. So we said, let's do the Rain Man thing, and we put our heads together. And yeah, it was a sad scene to film because obviously Ving had decided to hang up his IMF badge, and so there was a little bit of sadness in that. But in the end, we cut it because it was a very down moment at a time when the film needed to be pushing forward. And so in the edit, McHugh decided to drop it, which I was pissed off about because I thought it was the best acting I did in the film.
I agree.
But there you go. What are you gonna do?
Right, thank you.
Thank you.
Hello. So you have co-written the Cornetto Trilogy and also Star Trek Beyond. Does writing help you to become a better actor, or the opposite, that acting helps you to write better?
I don't know. I mean, I always wrote, even when I was a kid. You know, that was something I always liked to do. When you write for yourself, you can write to your strong points, and you know, that's always helpful. But I see them as very separate things, acting and writing. You know, I'm very lucky, I think, that I get to write stuff. I've just the film that I'm hoping to direct, I wrote, and that was fun because it was the first thing I'd ever written on my own, apart from a book. And so yeah, I think it's just another discipline. You know, it's a different discipline. And like I say, if you're writing for yourself, you can write to what you know you're good at. But I think they're pretty separate. Thank you.
Hello, Mr. Pegg.
Hi.
I have a question also about the Final Reckoning.
Yeah.
Since the film was shot in South Africa, I assume you were there as well. I would love to know what you thought of South Africa and how were those days on set. Thank you.
We had a great time in Cape Town. We all got the shits. But that's just, you know, hazards of the job. It was great because we were filming up in wine country, and we would drive up that long road in the truck up to the server, and then we'd all get out of the truck, jump in a helicopter, and then Tom would fly us back to the first position, like through this canyon, like really low, showing off. And so every time we did a take, we'd all bundle into the helicopter, and then Tom would fly us back. So it was like a really fun day. And then we finished early because we'd done so many takes. And we were like, what should we do now? And Tom said, oh, why don't we go diving with sharks? And we were like, okay, Tom. And then, so we jumped back in the helicopter and we flew out to the coast. And me and Palm and Haley and Tarzan and Tom all got in a cage and went down and fed sharks. So it was a pretty good trip. Thank you.
Hello.
Hi.
In Star Trek, Leonard Nimoy came back for playing Spock. I want to ask, did you meet Leonard Nimoy, and how was it?
I did meet Leonard, and it was absolutely mind-blowing to be in a scene with him, because I've had many experiences in my life when I've worked with actors that I've loved, you know, like whether that's or directors, like whether that's Spielberg or Sigourney Weaver or Jeff Bridges. But to be in a scene with a character that I've known all my life, like to be in a moment, not with Leonard Nimoy, but with Mr. fucking Spock, was mind-blowing, because he was saying to me in that first scene, you are Montgomery Scott. And I was just in my head going, oh my God, Spock's talking to me! And I remember a really funny evening when me and Chris and Leonard we were shooting in a beer factory in LA, and we had a trailer that was close to set that the three of us could just hang out in. And it was really late at night, and me and Chris and Leonard were sat talking, and then Leonard fell asleep. And Chris and I were just sat there, and Leonard was sat like this, in full Spock, you know, pointed ears and everything, just going. And Chris and I would just look at each other going, Mr. Spock snores. So it was a wonderful experience, and Leonard was the sweetest man, and generous and funny, and you know, it was a real privilege for me as a Star Trek fan to get to spend some time with him and with his character. Thank you. Hey.
Being part of several big franchises, what other franchises would you like to be part of?
I think I'd think very carefully about joining another franchise now in my career, because it takes up a lot of time, you know, and you sort of hitch your wagon to like a huge circus, and it can completely swallow you in some respects. Like, you know, if you do a Marvel film these days, you're going to be maybe in your film, but then you might be in other people's films, and you might have to keep going back to do films when what you really want to do is different things, you know. And I've been part of Star Trek and Star Wars and Mission Impossible and Ice Age and Narnia, and I think I'm done. So unless it's like a little guest part in something, which would be fun, you know, I might have done a little guest part in a big franchise recently. I'm not going to say if I have, but yeah, if I can just get in and out. But I don't really want to be part of a big franchise again. I quite want to do interesting, smaller things now as I get older.
Okay,
thank you.
Simon, 4 final questions.
Okay.
Hello.
Hi.
3 months ago you visited the Criterion Closets. I've been wondering for a while now, how exactly does one get invited to it?
The Criterion Closet was really good fun. I basically picked 11 films, and then when they edited the video together, it's just 4, I think. I think you've got to be promoting a movie or working in the film industry to get to be filmed in there. But I'm sure if you went to New York and just knocked on the door, they'd let you come in and have a look around. Thank you.
Hi. My question is somewhat related to the last question that was asked there by the girl. Like, you've played so many iconic characters in so many iconic movies, but I also really like your work in like that one episode of Black Books that you did, and A Fantastic Fear of Everything, which I think is also a great movie. Which of your movies do you yourself think was criminally underrated or underseen?
I did a film called Hector and the Search for Happiness, which is a sort of travelogue film about a psychiatrist that goes off around the world. And I really had a wonderful time making that film. And everyone I speak to that's seen it is always very sort of emotionally kind of moved by it, you know, because it's all about the nature of happiness. But it didn't get a huge sort of box office, and it's one of those films that people sort of discover. But if you feel like, you know, a feel-good film about a psychiatrist called Hector, then watch that.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hi.
I was wondering, in Mission Impossible 3, Benji already hints at what the rabbit foot actually is.
Yes.
Was that in the script, or was that something that you came up with yourself or someone else?
Yeah, it was in the script. I mean, the rabbit's foot when it first got floated was what J.J. Abrams always refers to as a mystery box. So it's something which it's like a mystery that you give to the audience without an answer, and to be sort of unpacked sometime in the future, not necessarily knowing what it was. At that time, JJ didn't know that it was malicious code and the beginnings of the entity, but what Chris McQuarrie was able to do very cleverly was to look back into the history of the Mission Impossible films, see a moment where, oh, this could have been the beginning of the entity, you know, if that's what Ethan had stolen. And not only that, it made Ethan partly responsible for the birth of the entity, because he stole the rabbit's foot in the first place. So it was a very... McHugh is a brilliant writer and very, very good at respecting the lineage of Mission Impossible. And so it was just a happy accident, really, that it came to mean what it did. But JJ basically offered it up as whatever you want it to be, it could be. And Chris took that and ran with it.
Yeah. I also found nice in the last film, because they tie up all the storylines, also the storyline of the guy who was responsible of letting
to the black hole. Yeah, I know, that was great. Rolf, it was so lovely to have him in the movie. Yeah. Thank you.
Final question. Hello again.
Hello, it's the NWA.
My question is the following. So about your next film with Edgar Wright.
Yeah.
Are there already specific ideas, and will it star Nick Frost?
It will definitely star Nick Frost if we can get him out of Hogwarts for long enough. He's currently Hagriding. He keeps sending me videos from the set of him doing bad things in his Hagrid costume. I'm not going to show them to you. Yes, I have no idea what it will be about. We're not sure. Edgar came around to my place for a few days last year, and we just sort of spitballed some ideas and talked about some stuff, but there's nothing yet that's really kind of grabbed us in the way that the stories for Shaun, Hot Fuzz and The World's Ended. So something will come up, you know, but we just need to get together and be in a room together for 6 weeks. That's what'll do it. So no hints, and even if I knew, I wouldn't tell you. Because we've got to keep that shit secret.
Thank you anyway.
Thank you so much.
All right, that's a wrap. Give it up for Simon!
Thank you very much.